Dale Carnegie earned his living as a rhetoric teacher at an adult night school until he understood what his students lacked most: the ability to deal with each other properly. His book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, was supposed to be the solution to this problem, but it exceeded all expectations. Within a very short time, it became an international bestseller. To this day, it is considered a classic in the field of personal development. In this video, I want to share with you 5 exciting ideas from Carnegie's book.
Idea number 1. Show sincere interest.
Once, when Carnegie was at a party in New York, he met a well-known botanist. Up to this point, he had never really dealt with this field of expertise, but the two men talked for hours. Since Carnegie was fascinated by the knowledgeable descriptions of exotic plants, he even received a few tips for his own little greenhouse. Later, at the end of the evening, the botanist remarked to the host,
"This Carnegie guy is a real pleasure to talk to."
The funny thing is that Carnegie had hardly contributed anything to the conversation in terms of content. The only thing he had done was to show sincere interest by asking good questions. So, apparently, one way to appear more sympathetic is to be interested in others. According to Carnegie, this has one simple reason: we humans love to talk about ourselves or our interests, especially when we are asked to do so by someone who genuinely cares about us. So, if you want to make friends, listen to people. Ask questions that the other person is happy to answer. Ask your counterpart to tell you about himself and his deeds. But why isn't everyone doing this already? Well, because most people just think about what to say next and can't stand it when the other person talks. On the other hand, if you listen properly, you devote your full attention to someone. This small difference alone can take your conversations to the next level. Give it a try.
Idea number 2. Remember their names.
When Carnegie first heard the story of renowned American politician James Farley, he was hooked. At the age of 10, Farley had lost his father and, as the oldest man in the house from then on, was forced to toil in a brick factory. He therefore lacked the time to attend school or get an education. Nevertheless, he later made it, among other things, to the chairman of the Democratic Party.
"What do you think is the secret of my success?"
asked Farley.
"As far as I know, you know 10,000 people by their first names."
Carnegie replied. But that wasn't correct. Farley claimed to know the first names of a whopping 50,000 people. But why was he doing this? Quite simply, Farley recognized early on that there is nothing in the world people would rather hear than their own name. And someone who addresses us by our name seems automatically more likable to us. Even as an authority figure, you can make yourself popular in this way. This is what happened, for example, to former US President Theodore Roosevelt. It is said that he greeted his servants by their first names every day. In addition, he listened to them and later picked up on past conversations. What a superior way of expressing one's appreciation.
Idea number 3. Stop arguing.
One of Carnegie's students was working as a truck salesman at the time, but he had a problem: his sales were poor. Carnegie tried to get to the bottom of this and asked a few questions. It quickly became apparent that his student was obviously argumentative, almost choleric, and actually enjoyed engaging others in heated conversations. If a prospective customer said something derogatory about the trucks, the conversation usually ended in bitterly angry discussions. The salesman usually walked away smugly as the winner, but no one wanted to buy his trucks. The example shows that disputes rarely lead to the goal. If you lose, the other person is right. If you win, you hurt his pride and may win the argument, but certainly not his favor. In the vast majority of cases, such discussions only lead to our counterpart seeing his opinion confirmed even more strongly and stubbornly. So, the solution is to avoid them in the first place. The salesman from Carnegie's seminar learned to give in at the right moment. When a customer later told him that he actually preferred the competitor's trucks, he simply agreed at first. With no room for discussion, he was soon able to steer the conversation back to what was very good about his trucks. Lo and behold, the once argumentative choleric became the company's most successful salesman.
Idea number 4. Make them agree.
Another silver bullet in the bag of tricks of persuasion is the strategy of eliciting a yes from your conversation partner as often as possible. Emphasize what you have in common and ask questions that he or she can't answer negatively. In this way, you create an affirmative conversational dynamic, a positive momentum in which a contradiction becomes more difficult with every affirmative yes. In return, make sure to provoke a no as rarely as possible, because your counterpart will find it difficult to move away from this position later. You can try this, for example, if you want to convince someone of a better offer.
You must have ordered a pizza before, right?
Yes, I did.
You probably paid between $10 and $15 for it, right?
Yes, I did.
Cool. We offer 2 pizzas and a dessert for $25. So, for an extra $10, you can feed your girlfriend and enjoy dessert together on top of that. That's why we recently raised our minimum order to $25. Don't you think that makes more sense as well?
Yes, I do. And you know what? I'll have the 2 pizzas.
Idea number 5. Stop criticizing.
Once, while talking to a construction company safety engineer, Carnegie heard an interesting story. The man said one of his responsibilities is to ensure company employees wear helmets when on site. In the past, he would have quoted the regulations in an authoritative voice and demanded compliance every time he saw a worker without a helmet. As a result, people reluctantly obeyed, often taking off their helmets as soon as he was gone. Until he decided to take a different approach. The next time he saw some workers without helmets, he kindly asked them if their helmets were uncomfortable or didn't fit properly. When they said no, he gently reminded them that the helmet was there to protect them from injury and suggested to wear it regularly to work. The result was that workers actually followed the rules more often from then on. This shift in strategy may have been something of a glimpse of what renowned behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner had figured out long before. Animals learn more effectively by being praised for positive behavior than by being punished for mistakes. The same applies to us humans. Our actions are primarily driven by emotions, not by our mind. So, negative criticism rarely leads to a positive change in behavior because those who are criticized feel attacked. And our natural response to attack is defense, defiance, and resistance. We learn criticizing others is easy. Forgiving them their mistakes and flaws, on the other hand, requires backbone and character. If you want others to like you, ask them for the reasons for their behavior and show empathy. This is the only way things will change in the long term.